Titiani, and this is Arniya Heartford, and we are here to talk about something which she sometimes refers to as the VU, and many people don't know what that refers to, and it's something very special that only Arniya can explain and is only with Arniya. So what is the VU, Arniya, and how did it come about?
There's many ways to answer that, but it's a space which is designed for me to support my clients and to support the students to continue their learning during their dream time or during meditation. It's challenging. I was going to say it's a physical space, and to me it is, because I get clients coming in and describing things that are there that I haven't seen.
Wow.
So students will come in and they'll say to me, that the library that's off the corridor with the red tiles, and my brain goes, red tiles, and then I think, oh my god, they are red tiles, but I hadn't. To me, it's the hallway with the such and such handrails, like
Yes,
it's
you hadn't realized they were red.
no, I just hadn't noticed. And so I know it is a physical space in a non-physical reality, so it's a bit challenging. So it's a space of learning and of soul support that was created for me to support me in my soul work of being a healer and a mystic.
There is a story, though. There is a story, and you skirted around it. Like how this actually came to be in the first place goes back to when you were working with clients and in the unseen kingdom.
So the backstory before that is that I came into this life remembering my past lives. So I incarnate consciously. So at the end of each lifetime, part of the way that I go through that conscious incarnation process is I do an energy process where I take all of the medicine or all of the soul wisdom, all of the tools, the crystals, the books, the whatever else I've got that holds the work I've done this lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And I take all that energy and I put it into a container, and then I put it into the outer layers of my own energy field, out into the soul plane.
And this happens at the moment of transition, or?
Yeah, just before. So in that brief moment before I transition, I'll do that work as a soul so that I can incarnate with that wisdom with me, because otherwise it's a waste.
You don't have to relearn all those things.
I have to relearn all those things, and it's like coming in with a book of information that I can backtrack through. So when I incarnated this lifetime, my soul plane had a lot of little pockets of every different lifetime that was relevant to this lifetime. So all my healer lifetimes, all my mystic lifetimes, all my freedom lifetimes, all those sorts of anything at all that was going to be helpful was embedded in that soul plane.
It's a lot of lifetimes too.
It is a lot of lifetimes. So people underestimate the amount of lifetimes we have, but most people would have had at least 300,000 of lifetimes.
See, that blew my mind when you told me that. There's no way I imagined that I'd had that many lives.
Well, yeah. I mean, most of the souls on the planet now have had a lot of lifetimes. Not all of them, and not all of those lifetimes are on this planet and this dimension and this so it's a lot more complicated than that. So forward track to in my 30s, and I had a lot of personal stuff going on at that point, and I was seeing clients from 10 in the morning till 10 at night, and I was trying to run classes, and I was doing sweat lodge, and I was doing healing on the unseen kingdom, who are like the nature sprites and all the other beings. So I was doing all of that. I had clients who were having night terrors and high temperatures at night and all that kind of stuff, who would then they had permission to ring me at 3 a.m. because I would rather heal them when they first went into crisis than have them staying in crisis for 8 hours and bringing me in a state of complete collapse in the morning.
Unlimited access. That's amazing.
There's a time and a place. You know, it's not something you offer to everybody. But if somebody's in true trauma,
yeah, of course,
and you say to them, "Ring me at 3 a.m. if that's when you're going into crisis," you can break the pattern. You know, you can break the pattern immediately, and sort of making that offer to get up at 3 a.m. It might be the first night they wake you, the second night they wake you, the third night they're okay, the fourth night you wake you, and then it's not for another 3 nights that they wake you, and it's not for another 5 nights, and you break the cycle. Whereas if you wait till the morning, you can never get them out of it, you know, like it. And so it was worth it, but it was wearing me down. And it just got to the point where it was like, I'd just get one person through that and another person would arrive.
Right. Yeah.
And so it was this continual thing. And it was the right thing to do at the time, but it was a lot. And then I had my own soul learning and my own, you know, by the time I got through it, I was exhausted. And the unthinking, you know, worry about me. They started to worry about me, and they started to go to the guardians and go to the goddess and say, hey, you know, we've got to look after this one. What's going on? And so they petitioned the goddess for support, and Mother Venus stepped forward to help. So my sweat lodge name, I'm named after. We have a name when we run lodge. We have a name. It's for that process, and I was named after Mother Venus. So she stepped forward and came and talked to me and said, you know, you can't break yourself in the joy of helping other people. And she was the one that suggested that if we put all of those soul libraries from previous lifetimes into one space and then put them onto her soul plane, it would lift the vibration enough that I could have other people come through and I could support my clients there. So rather than me having to wake up at 3 a.m, the VU staff could go and support those people. Okay. So
what does the VU stand for then?
So the VU stands for Venus's University.
Cute.
Which is just that was my nod to saying thank you. And it, you know, it's this wonderful, massive stone building that is a living, breathing organism in its own right. Because, you know, if something happens, then suddenly they'll grow another wing or something on this building. It sort of morphs itself in this wonderful space. And so she put all of the different tools that I'd gathered over all of these lifetimes, and there's time tracks in there for doing time work, and there's, you know, portals for other races to come through and to work with you. There's healing waters, there's flame, there's all sorts of stuff in there. And then, you know, she called out to all of the guardians, the ascended masters, the beings I'd worked with in those other lifetimes, and said, hey, you know, come, whoever you are, you're invited. And so this sort of wealth of very wise and very compassionate beings showed up and are now living in the VU.
Yeah, you told me they were living there, and I was like, wow, It's like you've created a home for them.
Yeah, it's, I mean, you know, they sort of live beyond time, but a lot of them are there because there's such a wealth of tools for them to play with, and the libraries that have been copied and stuff like that. So a lot of them are there to do their own work and help out where needed, you know. So, you know, she brought it all together, and then of course those masters then thought, well, actually this is pretty good, and so they went and told a lot of the people that they'd worked with, who told they, you know, and it's kind of over the last 15 years it's got stronger and stronger as more beings have been invited to join and to support.
And didn't you once say that there were some of the books or the wisdom that once was in the Alexandria Library there?
Yeah, so any of the books, it started with the books that I'd gathered over lifetimes. a lot of which were in the Alexandria Library or other similar collections. But then, of course, as the masters come in and they start reading what they've got, they're like, oh, actually, I've got this. And there's a team of guardians who look after the libraries, who just I mean, they're just fascinating beings, but they love books, they love recording. That's their soul work. And so, you know, they're down there making copies of some of the books. So the masters might bring in a book and say, hey, actually, I've got this. And they'll make a copy of it to put into the library for everyone.
Right, and the master still has theirs.
Yeah. So, you know, there's a lot of manuscripts down there that are either originals or copies of incredibly old sort of. I think, you know, we're one book off getting the full works of Pythagoras down there, which is pretty cool. So, you know, these, you know, this is in the VU. There's several different libraries, but the basement has a very large, very old library. That's the really sort of ancient wisdom stuff. Right, I've got, you know, clients who just every night say, I'm going to go down to the library, and they just sit in the library and read all night long.
So that's the way you go there, is at night, as you go to bed,
Yeah, I mean, there's a few different ways. The most common way is that people say, you know, okay, I'm going to bed, please take me to the VU. And, you know, there's a VU program that's on a Monday night we do this, and on a Tuesday night we do that. And, you know, you can request specific support on an issue. So if you were wanting to study something specific, then they would, you know, help to set you up with that sort of thing.
Well, I was astonished when you first like allowed me or took me in, and you gave me an address. She gave me an address, and she drew a little map and it has a number, and I have a room, which I don't yet lucid dream. One day I hope to, but I asked to go to my room, and I have a room, my own room. And then there was a point, and I don't remember when it was, when you said that there was because music is one of the things that I love, and it's my passion, and it's my medicine. And you said you now have a music room, and you said because there are two different sides of the building itself, aren't there? And you said I have a room on both sides, and that there's a music room, and within the music room, for example, there would be every musical instrument that has ever existed since ever, you know, back Lemurian times, you know, including things that, you know, we've never even heard of. So how does that work?
I mean, like, again, you can just request to go in there, but I mean, at the minute I'll talk to you about how to actually enter the VU, because it's a bit more thing. But there's a difference between going to the VU when you dream, where you can ask to remember, and they'll work with you to slowly start trying to remember. But we should come back to that actually, because that's kind of interesting. But you can also meditate. You know, you can also consciously go to the VU when you're awake, and go and consciously walk around. So you don't have to only,
right,
you know, and if I'm doing a healing, then sometimes I will be doing the healing in the physical, but I'll also do the healing in the VU at the same time, so that I'm working on their soul energy in a VU healing room, because there's more that I can do there, because there's more tools there. So I can sort of address two different layers at the same time. So I can put them into a healing chamber in the VU and clear the energy out of the physical while the healing chamber is doing its job, and then and it just intensifies and deepens what's possible, right? So it would depend. When you say how does that work, if you're dreaming, well, what we could do is we could actually say, right, she actually wants a music tutor. Like, she actually wants somebody to teach her about the aspect of music that she needs for her soul work. Because while all the musical instruments are fun, actually that's not what you need help with. Right. What you need help with is to channel through the music that's buzzing around in your energy fields and hasn't come through yet. So you need a tutor to help you to bring that music through.
Yes. Beautiful.
Right. And in the process of that, they may then pick up different instruments and say, listen, this is a unique sound that you haven't heard. This is what you need to mimic. This is what's possible, you know, or let me introduce you to this musician who plays this incredible instrument you've never seen, but will help you to develop the tune or the melody in a way that, you know. So there's a whole lot of different ways through, right? But before we get into that, let's come back to how we actually get into the VOO, because that's kind of important if you're going to visit.
Yes. Very
right.
important.
So if somebody's working with me, like you are, then I set up a guardian attached to the VOO, who, when you say, please take me to the VOO, and you have your symbol, they know to come and support you and take you to the VOO, and they know to clear your energy and to make sure you're in clear space before you go in. Okay. That's part of the contract I have with my clients. Okay. If somebody tried to come into the VOO and they didn't know me and they weren't working with me, then they would be placed in a bubble, so they could still walk around and look, but they wouldn't be able to touch anything, because we started to have people we didn't know coming through, and it sort of polluted the energy.
So they wouldn't be interacting with it. It would just be like they're an invisible, like, onlooker spying on it.
Yeah. There's a level of integrity that's required. So it is a place for people who are wanting to take the journey with me, because this is my wisdom that they're traveling through. So how to get into the VOO. So there's a few different ways. When you've got your address, obviously that makes it easy. But if we were meditating, then I could take you. So we travel up the cord of connection between our crown and the divine, and you visualize yourself going up that column of light. And once you get through to soul plane, you'll see that there's a door there that leads to your inner world, to the world where your soul work can be achieved, right? And that inner world is an entirely different place that's well worth exploring anyway, that, you know, I've got maps of and everything else. So, you know, you can go into your own inner world, and your temples of learning will be there, and your, you know, healing tools and stuff will be there. Within that world, there will be a door to the VOO. But if you carry on up the cord past the door to your own world, once you've been invited into the VOO, there will be another door above that, further up the column, and you'll be able to walk into that. Now, when you first go through that door, and it is literally a door, turn the handle, like it's very literal, right? Beautiful. So you walk through the door, and you'll step into an obsidian chamber, right? And so it's that very, very black, shiny energy. And you walk in, and you close the door behind you, you'll be able to see the light. It's not terrifying, it's just black and shiny. And as you walk forward towards the entrance to the VOO, anything of a negative nature is cleared off you, right? Now, if you
obsidian,
if you need to still learn from it, then it'll wait until you come out. It'll be returned to you. But it's just making sure that you're cleansed before you go into the VOO, really. And you know, I've had probably maybe one person who was trying to go there with ill intent, and they just never got out of the obsidian room. They just felt like they had walked all night. But you know, most people 5 or 6 steps and out the other side, and you come out into a large sort of courtyard area in front of the main building that is gravel, but it's white gravel, it's quartz, so it sort of shimmers and sparkles a bit. It's a huge sort of courtyard type of thing, with the white building of the VOO, and again, it is white stone, so it has that kind of,
this translucent sort of,
yeah, like a sparkle to it. Like you look at it and you go, I'm not completely sure that you're not alive. You know,
yes,
like it's
exactly,
that kind
like a sort of shimmer.
yeah, not quite to the sort of Baba Yaga house gonna get up and walk away on chicken legs, but sort of similar.
Yeah.
And it's currently at the moment it's 13 stories high, so it's
Wow.
it's not small.
Mm.
And it's massive. It's a massive building. So that's down the far end of the courtyard. Around the outside of the rest of the courtyard, there are trees and gardens and spaces where we're growing healing plants and healing trees. Spaces where the unseen kingdom have their home. So most people are sort of deterred from going that way.
Right.
Most people,
yes.
most people are sort of gently persuaded to go towards the building. And then around behind the building there are very sort of almost English garden type of gardens for the chakras, and Pele's flame, and at one point there was a herd of horses living over there, but I'm not sure whether they're still there or not. But there's a whole life out there. And to the far left of the building is it's like a big garden near the pod trees. So the pods are it's our nickname really for a plant that grows very large pods, and they're normally about 6.5 feet long. And if you had one standing, it'd probably come up to about my shoulder. They put them on a stand long ways, and they cut them down one side and open them up, much like a sunbed.
That makes sense.
But they're a large green pod. Every now and again they'll make them in different colors, but most of the time they're green. And they're just filled with a sort of jelly, almost like an aloe type of
yes.
And so they'll cut them open, and there's a little set of stairs put there beside them for you so that you can climb up easily, and you just slide in, which the first time you do it you think, oh, this is really kind of weird feeling. But you slide in and they close it around you, and it just puts you into a really deep healing sleep. There's something changes within the chemical makeup of the connection between the soul and the body that allows the body to heal in a way that nothing else seems to. So every now and again, if somebody's particularly emotionally damaged, then they'll obviously go a yellow or an orange pod, but for the most part they're just the love green. And so one night a week we have a pod night where
so much fun,
where everybody gets a pod. And I think the first night they gave us those, I had a whole lot of other things I was meant to be doing. I was so meant to be studying, and there was special classes set up for me and everything. And I said, I'll just stay in the pod until 2 a.m, and then you can come and get me, and I'll go to the other things I'm meant to be doing. And they opened the pod at 2, and I just no.
I want to stay here.
like some weird zombie closing the coffin lid. But they are something special. So you come across the courtyard, and at the front of the building there's a set of stairs that go up, and they're sort of typical massive stone with whopping great Colosseum pillars next to the door, and these massive wooden doors that have sort of what do you call it when there's inlay, bits of wood, lots of different, so every different type of tree is represented in those
wow,
doors.
Beautiful, yes.
So they're, the moment you touch them, you know that they're alive. They've got that life force feeling. Most of the time they're open. So you go in, and when you first walk in the doors, probably for about the first, I don't know, I'm so bad with spatial awareness, but I'd say probably 20 feet, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, about 20 feet. There's a roof, like a thing, and then it opens up. So in that space, to the right, there's a long corridor that goes all the way down to the end of the building. And there's a whole lot of corridors that go off that. There's little crystal showers on the side. There's, all sorts of things down that way. But that side of the building, so if I'm standing in the door with the door behind me, and this is the foyer, the right hand side of the building is the building that's always been there. That's the building we got originally. That's the non-ascended side. And that's a lot of the old wisdom. So all the old wisdom is there. The corridor to the left is the new wisdom. It's the ascended energy. It's the new stuff that's been brought back through the time track for us to help to ascend.
Yes. Now this fascinated me because when she first told me about it, she'd never even been into that side of the building herself.
Well, we hadn't ascended.
Yeah, exactly. But it took me away just to kind of get my head around it. So it was during the time since you've been here that for the first time, I remember the morning since the shifts began, I remember you said, I knocked on the door and I went in to the left side, the ascender side for the first time, but it was really empty because of course there was no one there because you were the first.
I mean, I'm sure Marie Watson probably pushed her way through a couple of times because she's pretty amazing at getting herself into all sorts of places. God love her. She's been going to the VU since it first started. So yeah, I mean, there's different tools there which we will get to. And normally, when a client comes in or when somebody starts the VU program, I give them a little symbol, and technically it's like a round circle normally with a line to each direction that shows when to turn left and when to turn right for them to get to their office.
Yes, you gave me a little map when you gave me my room. Yeah, and it has a number, like a number,
a door number.
Yeah.
So that's so that if you're in the VU and you get lost, because it is huge, you can go to any staff member and show them the pattern and they'll know exactly how to get you to your room because it has a vibrational key on it. So we've got the doors to each side. Now if you then walk forward that 20 feet, the roof, you enter into a vestibule that goes all the way to the top, so you can see the lovely big sort of stained glass dome roof at the top, up the 13 stories, and there's a carpeted staircase that goes up each side of that area. So it's a massive round circle.
You said it's almost like a football field.
It's probably, if you put two football fields side by side and draw a circle over them, you'd be in about the right space. It's
huge.
It's a big space, and it has to be a big space because on Friday nights, of course, we have the anti-gravity float dances in that space, and you've got all the VU staff that want to come and party. So you've got that many beings in there. You can't have a small space.
No, that's true. And you said that it's now numbered it's not just hundreds, is it? It's in the thousands,
and all sorts of different beings in there helping us out. So when people first start working with me, they're on the first floor, and then pretty soon, once a week, we're going to be doing a meditation journey, which might take us up to the second floor. When people have got to the advanced level of training, they'll often be given an office on the second floor because the tools that are up there are more for practitioner training. That being said, if somebody has an office on the bottom floor and they need one of those tools, the VU staff will bring it down. So there's bathtubs of rose quartz, and there's a very nice blue couch made out of blue tourmaline. which,
Wow.
a small piece of blue tourmaline in the physical is stupidly expensive. So that's rather lovely to sit on. So there's a whole lot of different tools that you can have brought to your office. But what I find is that each level of the VU, the vibration increases. And so people have to be a little bit proficient in their own energy before they're comfortable on the second floor.
Mm-hmm.
If I take people up much further than that, it can bring on a bit of a clearing and they don't thank me for it.
Right.
There's a time and a place.
Okay.
But
and you've of course gone to all right, because Venus is at the top, isn't she?
Yeah, and also I would rather have a big clearing and get through something. That's the way I'm wired. Mm-hmm. So if I'm stuck, they'll take me up to level 13, and I know that that's gonna mean a pretty intense physical reaction, and I'm good with that. So but for the most part, those upper 11 stories, for the most part, are where the ascended beings are doing their work. Of course. And they've all got their offices and stuff. Yeah. I'm sure that as we ascend, those offices will open up more, and those libraries on the upper floors will open up more. But at the moment, they're kind of a bit above most people's reach. Okay. And that's not out of I'm not suggesting for a moment that my vibration is so much higher than everybody else's. It's just this is my medicine. So I'm sure that if I stepped into their library and went to their top floor, it would be hard for me too. So everybody has their own thing. It's just this is what I have to share. This is the gifts and the learning that I have to share. So there's been other lifetimes where I've been further evolved and up the higher ladders, and when I go to the top floor and hang out with the goddess up there, then I'm calling on those lifetimes so that it's not gonna be too much.
Yeah, I feel like I've only just scratched the surface. I mean, I haven't even really begun. Yeah, because I've only ever visited. I haven't really done the conscious meditation visit. I've only really done it during, we had some, Arniya runs these, if you like, commentating the consciousness shifts that happen, and he's been doing it for over a year now. There's a whole different podcast about that. But during that time, we had about 3 shifts where you took us to the VU. I remember the first one, we had to climb a crystal. I remember there was a crystal staircase that we climbed to get into the VU, and that's when we first went in the pods. Yeah.
So the shift wasn't really going to the VU or the pods. It was just we had the shift, and it was like, okay, how do I support them to go through that? Yes. How do I support them to get the most out of it? If I take them to the VU next, I can leave them there and they'll get the healing and the support that they need to get the most out of the shift, right? And often when we're doing a shift in consciousness and we're going through this sort of ascension evolutionary journey that is happening a lot at the moment, then the ascended beings from the VU will come and support us so that we get more out of the ascension shift. So often when I'm running those shifts, it'll be like, oh, the VU crew are going to come, are going to come. Or the last time it was the VU astronomers came, and then other times it's the VU master healers, which are sometimes referred to as surgeons. Come down. If I've got somebody with a chronic health condition, then sometimes I'll ask the VU surgeons to do surgery over them overnight on them to clear things, because often with those chronic health conditions, you need to heal it on every part of the biorhythm, which means that they would have to be with me for like 48 hours to be able to tick box. Yeah. Most people aren't keen for that.
Never mind the fact that your life would be wouldn't be your own.
Some people come for healing retreats, but it's unusual to have somebody for 48 hours. So this is a way of the VU staff constantly maintaining on each level of the biorhythm. They can continue to support.
That's amazing.
It's fun, and I do hope that I never know how it's going to work out. I have a lovely, it's like a PA, for lack of a better term. I have a lovely lady called Beth, who's one of the old ones of the Unseen Kingdom, and she's a special lady. She's been with me since I was a child and has kind of nursed me through some pretty hard times. And she's I mean, she's an absolute saint, but at the same time, if I misbehave, she'll call me out. She's like a nursemaid. She's not going to let me get away with anything. But she technically runs the VU.
Yeah, she's the one that you meet when you first go there, isn't she?
Yeah, so she's the one I'll introduce you to, and she's the one who will set you up with a guardian if you need to, and she's the one who writes the program, and she goes around all the different ascended beings and says, listen, we've got to have a class on Friday night teaching something. Are you interested in sharing what you've got to learn? And so, normally once a week when we've got a VU program, somebody's teaching something unique.
Because you've done this program only once before you've run it, haven't you?
Yeah, I had it going for about 2 years, a long time ago, and now it's about to come back again. Yeah, but so Beth writes the program, and normally that means that Sunday night's a pod night, Sunday or Saturday.
Friday night's the gravity dance.
Friday night's the
gravity dance.
The float. I call it the float because it's no gravity, and it's funny. It's like you walk in there, and if you're taking yourself too seriously, nothing happens.
Oh, really?
So
I didn't know that.
It's literally how lightly can you take yourself?
Oh, how beautiful!
And so you get all of these sort of very dignified, serious guardians all acting like idiots because it means they can fly higher. And so that's always, it is really fun because it's literally just it's an east. You go into the east direction of lightheartedness and being,
and up you go,
and that's the one time that anybody can make it to the 13th floor. So if they really take themselves lightly, then they live.
Go all the way up. Oh my goodness!
And so there's always
to go again.
I
mean, I go as often as I can. Even I don't always remember every Friday night. That night, but...
And I mean that's the thing that you see is Friday nights traditionally for a lot of people it's drinking night, right? And if you've been drinking, you won't be allowed to get anywhere. So it is a consciousness clear type of space. But there's always this kind of light-hearted game between the beings who are in the float to see who can get to touch the glass dome first. And Beth hates it because she means she's got to get them cleaned. So, but there's this this kind
windows again.
She stop it, please.
Does she jump up and down too? I haven't seen her there.
She will make an appearance, but she's it's a bit of silliness. It's a bit of silliness.
Well, I guess she's been there because there is no time really, is there? That's this other strange thing. You can't say how long she's been there because
she's timeless.
Yeah.
So that's always on a Friday night. Pod night's a Sunday night, and then every other night there is a pattern to it, but I think looking at what she's writing at the moment, there's 2 new regular.
She's already writing the program.
Yeah, she's already writing the program, and so she's got 2 new ideas for 2 other nights of the week that'll be a repeat. So
like a Tuesday and a Thursday, for example.
Yeah, we're just sort of trying to negotiate our way around how that logistically works because she really wants to do something for the moon. But that's a bit of a...
That's a twice a month thing, really, isn't it? It's a new moon and full moon.
And the moon in the VU is slightly different than the moon here, which kind of puts things in a bit of a pickle.
How in which way is it different? I mean, I can't...
Um,
because it's not at the same.
Because you have to accommodate for the norm of everybody who lives in the VU, and not all of them live in planets that only have one moon. So
Right.
you know, it gets a little complicated. It just gets a little complicated.
So there's more than one moon, maybe.
Yeah, and there seems to be more of an 8-week pattern. So there's a close full moon and a further away full moon.
Right.
And they're different energies and stuff. So it's like there's a part of her that's going, well, this is the VU, can we not? You know, it's like, well, yeah, but that's not the reality they're living in. So there's a conversation happening anyway.
Right.
But yeah, the plan at the moment is that I will send a voice clip out that tells you what the VU program is for the night every day.
All right,
so
that makes sense.
So that allows us a freedom of movement for her to experiment with new things, because with half the building just opening up, there's a whole lot of new tools there and a whole lot of new toys, and I'm like, oh, let's go play. You know, things that I haven't seen for a very long time because the energy hasn't been right.
Have you looked around that side of the VU yet?
I have looked around a bit, but it's more that I can feel things that I've had in other lifetimes that I haven't been able to play with for a while. So there's more like, oh, that's right, we can do da 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 now. So,
oh wow!
So that's more fun. So the idea was that we would do short videos about different things that were in the VU as we go on, right? The main thing to remember is that the stairs go up like that to a sitting area up there, but underneath that there's a door that leads into an auditorium. So if you come through the front door and you just go straight ahead, there's a massive auditorium, which is where any of the bigger talks would be.
Do they have concerts or sound nights or music nights? Or does that not really happen?
We have had a few, but they got a little bit raucous. So there's been a few, but yeah, they're normally the Unseen Kingdom Earth races that want to put them on, and their parties are normally a little bit over intense. So Beth sort of put a stop to it for a bit, but I'm sure she'll be. But if you got the auditorium, you know, you look at the auditorium there, so you've come in under the top of the stairs to get into the auditorium. There's a corridor down the left-hand side of the auditorium that leads down to an even lower level where there's healing pools.
Yes, you mentioned those before. You said there's was it crystal showers?
Yeah, no, the crystal showers are, so when you come in the door and you turn down those corridors, on both sides there are, on the outer wall of the VU, the outer wall of the building rather, there's what looks like little closets. They're just little doors, and there's a whole line of them on both directions, which are crystal showers or healing showers, and they're just different healing liquids.
So you could go into a shower of tourmaline, for example. Wow. Yeah. And it's just a shower of that energy, infusing every cell of your body. Yeah. Wow.
So, and I mean, you can do, there's crystal showers, but there's also love showers, or, you know, Venus showers, or like there's lots and lots of different settings on each one that you can say, this is the energy I need.
Wow, I didn't know that.
So, well, it's a nice way to start your time in the VU.
It is.
You know, to just go and you know, because you're in your soul body, of course, after a while you notice that people start to go, oh, I don't have to wear my normal clothes. And so people try different outfits on as well, because you're in your soul body and you can choose whatever you want. Yeah. And there's always this kind of, when people have been in the VU for a while and they've got used to it, you notice that first the clothing starts to change, and then they realize they don't have to actually walk, they can just float. And they, you know, there's a lot of like, oh, this is so, you know, like people get a little bit overexcited.
And then the regulars are like, Yeah, I remember my first week.
Yeah. Oh, isn't that sweet? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, there is
And you said, can I correct me if I'm wrong, but when you talked to me once about the healing pools, because we've had so many conversations, because we share space, so we've had so many conversations, and I don't remember everything. You once said something to me about a pool of unicorn tears. Would that be right, or something like that?
so at the moment that's more in my inner world
Oh,
for
okay.
my personal work.
Mm-hmm.
I suspect that the unicorns will be gifting something to the VU sometime soon.
So the healing pools are just different waters with different energies inside them.
Yeah,
Is that
at the
how they
moment,
work?
those healing waters that are down under the auditorium, they're just the highest vibration of soul essence that's available. You know, like
Which
it's
is, I mean, that's incredible in
yeah,
itself.
but it's a bit like swimming in the Dead Sea. You don't sink. You know,
Yes, you float.
you have
Yeah,
to be really conscious to manage to get under in them.
it's more like a float tank in a way.
Yeah, except it's big because it's got to be enough room for everyone to go in together. So
Right.
um, yeah, there's a lot of there's just so much there. There's so much there that we'll never scratch the surface.
No.
Um,
And of course, it's always evolving because you've got so many of the other ascended beings that are adding new things or new
yeah,
gifts that are coming in or new members arriving. Or...
yeah, and I think also that there's some of my soul medicine that's sort of been held back. That not everything is out for public viewing. And sometimes Beth will say, I think it's time that you shared this.
Oh,
and
okay,
and so it'll be bought out, and then suddenly I've got another workshop that I meant to run, and
right.
um, the quartz tubes are a really good example of that. That she decided that that medicine needed to come out, and then I had to have them made. So these are the quartz tubes. So you can actually see terribly well on the screen. So I had these test tubes made out of clear quartz. When we do a healing, or a massage with Katie, you can't see that, it's just vanished. We put 4 of those around you, and so as we're doing the healing, we will put energy into one and pass it to the next and the next and the next. So you end up with a current going around you that holds the healing vibration of your healing. And as it does, we've put liquid inside them. So we'll put colloidal gold, silver, copper, or zinc, or any of the other healing liquids that we have in them. Crystal oils, essential oils, whatever else we can think of, go into them. And so that liquid is then charged with the healing energy. And because quartz amplifies, the tubes then amplify the power as well. So you end up going home with a spray of that energy that then holds the energy of your healing, which I really like. But of course, those were in the VU first. And so, Beth says, well, it's time to bring the quartz tubes out. And I'm like, well, remind me.
So, right, so they were already there.
So
wow,
it's like, okay. Then they come through into the physical, and then it's like, okay, how are we going to make this work? So there's a flow, there's a flow that, and obviously the quartz tubes that are in the VU are much bigger, but
yeah, of course,
but they're a step in the right direction. So,
and do you have any, no pressure, but do you have any idea when you'll have the beginning of the next VU program like to start? Because you've got a lot of work to do before it's ready. I know, like the support.
Look, I mean, I'd love to have it up sooner, but I think with the shifts
after the first,
I think after the next, with the shifts having 3 a day, but as soon as those shifts go direct and I've they've gone back into a lesser time consumption.
Because last year, because these have been going for over a year now, and last year it wasn't really till August when things completely calmed down a bit. And I remember, because I do water freeze for everyone that I can, pretty much everyone. And there was only like 2 or 3 in the whole of August. They just gave us time
Yeah.
to integrate, because
This year might be different though.
I know.
They're
You
spreading
keep
them,
saying that.
they're spreading them out a bit more.
Right, okay. October before this, I didn't know, but Arniya calls the 22nd of October as a spiritual new year, because it's when the energy of the next year begins to come in.
When we start to feel. So this year is an 8-year. 2024 is an 8-year, so it's a year of sort of power and high energy and high learning and intensity. And then next year is the 9-year, which is unconditional love and community and completion. Everything comes to a head. And so October 22nd, we start to feel that 9 energy having an influence over the 8 for the last few months of the year. And so the October retreat is to open the door, is to, as that energy comes through, to give it something to anchor into, to support humanity.
And both of these retreats will be held in this tent that we're sitting in now. And each time we can fit about 12 to 13 maximum. But you're going to be Zooming both of them now. Whereas last year we didn't really Zoom them live. I think we had only 1 or 2 people who already connected. But this year you'll be able to join.
Yeah. And all the Zooms between now and then are free to watch. The lives are all free.
Yeah, the live Shifts in Consciousness on the website, it's called. But it'll be quite something different to have the retreats to be able to join, because that means anyone in the world can join.
Yeah.
And there will be some kind of package that you'll have to go online and book it.
Yeah.
Because there'll probably be a max. I don't know. There'll be a maximum? Probably not. No.
Anybody can come. The more the merrier.
Yeah, that's true, because we're lifting up the consciousness for the whole of the planet.
But the main thing with the VU is that it is there for support. So, we've gathered up this sort of incredible wealth of tools and information to share with anybody who wants to come and work. And there are regular tuition with ascended beings in there.
So if between now and the time of the VU program, if someone got really excited, like watch this podcast and thought, oh my God, I want to go, how do they do that? Is it just, do they have to just have some, they start working with you?
Yeah, they come and do an 8-week program. And with the 8-week program, they get a room and door code for those 8 weeks.
That's the wisdom walk.
The wisdom walk, or any of the 8-week courses, really.
Right. Okay.
That if you're coming and doing that regular work, then they give you an office for that length of time.
Yay.
So, and at some point, like we said, we'll go through all the different things that are there and how to use them. Is our intention.
So on that note, come and join us in the VU one day if you can.
Be lovely to have you.